I was terrified when I was in college because I didn't know what I was going to do. Then once I had an idea, then I felt better, and each day gets better. You have to take a chance. Get on a road. It might not be the road that you're going to wind up on eventually, but it's going to lead to the road. But if you never take a chance, if you never go for it, you're never going to find out.
All right. Well, welcome to the Be Thyself show again. One more time today. I'm very happy to have someone that actually has a lot to say. And has really kind of a great history, and I think we're gonna have a good time. He's a hairstylist for the stars, but also is a great person, and he has a lot of interesting stories that I'm really kind of interested to hear. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Waldo Sanchez. Waldo, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So my first question is to kind of try to kind of get kind of an idea of where you're coming from, like your background, like you were born in New Jersey, I believe.
That's correct. I was born in New Jersey, Hoboken, New Jersey, 1963, and it was at a time where Hoboken was really changing and it's becoming gentrified, and it was very popular to live in because of the proximity to New York City. So it was a fun place to grow up in.
Did you actually stay there your whole childhood, or you actually kind of traveled?
Well, my grandmother and my aunt and my cousins were all there, but I moved out to West New York and then Union City, which are neighboring towns. They were all kind of adjacent to Hoboken, bordering the Hudson River. So basically, that's where I went to grammar school, high school, and pretty much. But no, I didn't stay in Hoboken, but I was always there because my grandmother was there, my family was there.
Yeah. If I'm right, I think you did kind of was with your parents for a while, and you actually kind of live with your grandparents.
No, I always lived with my parents.
Okay.
My great grandmother raised me because my parents had to work. I never lived with my grandparents. I was lucky enough to have 3 of my grandparents, actually 4, but some were separated, and on my mom's side and on my dad's side as well. So no, but I didn't live with them per se. I lived with my folks. My mom and dad.
Because we a little bit of a similarities here in the stories, because I did live with my grandparents. And so when we're talking about history, was like, well, there's definitely some similarities between your life and my life in some aspect. So you basically live with your parents, but your grandparents were kind of raising you, or spending more time with you, or
my great grandmother in particular was the one that looked after me after I came home from school, basically because my parents had to work. So I spent a lot of time with her. My grandparents per se were working. They were pretty young. Everybody got married young in my family. So I really was raised, or I was taken care of after school by my great grandmother.
Oh wow! Okay, so another generation.
That was, yeah. My family's from Cuba, but I'm first generation.
And you never went back to Cuba, or never visited? Just kind of
no.
Did you go to school to Hoboken, or a different area?
I went to high school I went to grammar school in Union City, and then high school in West New York. I went to Catholic school, pretty much grammar school and high school. Union City and then West New York high school. So adjacent towns.
Adjacent town.
Well, when I was in high school, my grades weren't that good. One of the reasons is that I cut a lot of class my senior year, which is so stupid. One class in particular, which is so dumb, and I had to go to summer school for it. But it's the only year that I did that. And basically because I wasn't sure of how I was going to apply my studies. I always had to have a plan. And my cousins were off and running. One was doing computer management. The other one was studying to be an attorney. So I felt like I was behind. And once I graduated from high school, I was really stressed out, and I felt like, wow, I better figure this out. And I went and got my grades up, and I had a basketball scholarship to a junior college. Basically, if you had bad grades or mediocre grades, and then you could transfer to another school. So I got my grades up and was playing basketball, and then was ready to go to the next school. And then I looked out the window and just kind of asked myself, what am I doing? Where am I going to go with this? How am I going to apply this? And I never look back. I try not to regret anything. And I still feel like I made the right decision. But in those days, I needed to have a plan. So I went to my grandmother, who was my touchstone. I couldn't go to my parents because I felt like they were going to get mad at me. And I went to my grandma and said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to apply these studies, or what I'm going to do. And she says, don't worry about it. Just go find a trade, something that can, provide for you and for a family. And all of a sudden, a huge weight was lifted.
At that point, you had no idea what you wanted to do. You just were like, okay.
I had no idea. I was still going to school. I did a number of different things. I worked I put together furniture at a furniture store. I worked in the UN, in the General Assembly, in the mailroom.
How old were you at that point?
I was 21.
21, okay.
Yeah. My uncle was a P1. He was the head of the verbatim department, so he basically translated everything to 5 different languages. So he had diplomatic status, and he was able to get me in the mailroom. And once I was there, I was making a lot of money. It was so depressing. As exciting as it was, I didn't want to be there when I was 50. But I knew that I worked at a department store for Christmas money. I was basically doing anything just to make extra money, and still going to school, night school for university. And I was transitioning, and then what I would do was I would drop my girlfriend off on my way to school at beauty school. And, you'd see all these people with their white kind of, almost look like dentists in their little smocks and stuff. And then they would go in and I didn't really think anything about it. I would just drop her off, then go off to school. And then when I decided to make the change, I don't remember exactly which job I was doing at the time, but I thought maybe I might be able to do this. I like working with my hands and I like people. So maybe I'll give hair a shot. So I went to my grandmother and I said, hey, I think I might want to do this. Can you lend me the money for beauty school? But before that, I want to see if I like it. So I wanted to go work part-time in a hair salon as an assistant, like washing, shampooing hair. So she said, okay, let me know. So I then went to my dad. I said, hey, Dad, well, before I went to my dad, I went and worked as an assistant, and it was hard work.
Which salon? Was it the one at Faraz?
No, it was a budget shop in West New York, New Jersey, that was very hip for the time. And I stayed quiet. I made hardly any money, worked really hard, and all knowing that I would have a plan. But the plan was, if I liked it, then I would go to beauty school. So I said, you know what, I think I can do this. So I went, asked my grandmother for the money, and she lent me the money. And then I talked to my dad. I said, hey, Dad, I think I'm going to go to beauty school.
That's pretty amazing, because I'm just saying this because a lot of time people go to school, right?
Right.
They have a little bit of an interest, they go to school first. They don't go and try something professionally speaking. Like, so you went to the salon and started to see if you really liked it. That's kind of pretty smart, I would say.
Well, also, I was going to borrow money. Yeah. I wasn't really going to borrow. She was going to give it to me anyway. So it was my grandmother, and at that time, I probably couldn't pay her back. As a matter of fact, I couldn't pay her back. But at the time, it was a really good investment. So for me, I knew that if I was going to use that money, I wanted to make sure that I liked it. And I did. Yeah. And I knew that it would get better. But for a year, I made hardly any money as an assistant. I left that one salon, and I remember I gave notice to the gentleman that owned the salon, and he offered me like twice of whatever I was going to get at this other salon that I had already went and interviewed at another job that was in my hometown in Hoboken. That was really cool. It was, it was really a very small boutique salon.
Was it the one with
Faraz, yeah.
Faraz? Okay.
I mean, it's still there actually in Hoboken, and the guy that owns it is a dear friend. I went there, got interviewed, bought a model. Didn't really know what I was doing, but I kind of knew, and he gave me a job, and then I learned with him. But then I went back to the other guy and said, "Hey, thank you for everything, but it's time for me to move on." I learned how to barber first at this particular salon because he was a really good barber, my buddy who owned the shop. And he's a really cool guy. He's, someone that I had always known and kind of admired. And
by the way, you go back to see him from time to time.
I haven't seen him in a while.
Okay.
But I need to go back and see him. I haven't seen him in a couple of years. But yes, he's someone that I really learned a lot from. And really was a big part of my learning curve, in terms of learning the basics and how to cut hair first. And then from there, what happens usually in the world of hair, you usually specialize. Very few people are good at multiple things. I shouldn't say very few people, but some people like to specialize. They like to be good at color, or they like to do, haircuts. And I was a pretty good cutter. But when I moved to Los Angeles, and we can get into that later, I was told, if you really want to make money, learn how to do color, corrective color, because that's what the money is at. So, but chronologically, going back to the salon in Hoboken, I really learned learned the basics there, and really didn't really know what I was doing there. He gave me a job because he knew that I was hungry. And he knew that I would learn quickly, and I did.
When you started to work in the first, salon, did you actually kind of had that sense of falling in love with the job?
I knew immediately when I was working as an assistant and having to work my tail off for no money. I knew that I would like it. That I knew that I was going to like it.
So, okay, good. That's
I knew for sure. And then once I went to the salon in my hometown. I loved it. I absolutely loved going to work. And then when I came out to LA, I didn't like that first salon at all, but it was a way of me finding my way and then going to the other salon that eventually
What are the things that you love the most about your work? You had to summarize.
Sculpting and molding a look with hair and also color. There's different facets of it. In a hair salon, making them feel better.
Okay.
In a hair salon. On a film set, the same thing, because you have very little time, but it still is the same thing. But you can't mess up. You're dealing with a $20 million head.
What do you think the skill that you developed in that salon the most? What was the thing that
confidence? Confidence. He was a very confident guy. He gave me a job when I didn't really know what I was doing yet, but he saw something in me. What I found, what I really loved, is to make people feel good, make them look good and feel good. It was a really nice thing. I really liked doing that. I think genuinely. What I really liked the most was creating, learning different haircuts. Anytime you figure out a haircut, or you learn a haircut that you wanted to master or you wanted to get better at, it was amazing because there's no feeling like it for me anyway to make someone feel good. I always say that it's like they come in with their shoulders kind of slumped and slouched, and when they leave, their shoulders are back.
Yeah, it's not just their hair; it's their full self-image.
Yeah. So it's always been a great feeling. It still is.
Yeah.
Even when I went on to do other things, but
how long did you stay at Hoboken?
I was there about 2 years. From the time I was maybe 25, and then I met a girl who lived in Los Angeles, and we decided to get married.
22, 23?
No, I was 25.
25, okay.
So I was a little old. I had money in the bank. I had saved up a little bit. But she lived in Los Angeles, so I took a trip with her to see if I would like it. Came out for about 2 weeks, and I liked it. My dad was very supportive. My mom was too. Everybody was supportive, but it was sad because I don't think they wanted me to go, but I knew that I had to do this. We drove cross country and came to Los Angeles. My parents got married. My family came out for the wedding. The minute I landed, I took my test for my California license, and that Monday I had scheduled my test for my license. That Wednesday I got a job in Beverly Hills.
There you go. Which salon at that point?
It was a salon called Giuseppe Franco.
Giuseppe Franco.
When I moved to Los Angeles, my hair cutting was getting better. It was very entry level in Hoboken, but it was good. It was just basic haircuts. But when I moved to Los Angeles, my niche, my style for women was basically haircuts that they could style easily themselves. Nothing asymmetrical or nothing very classic, very, I guess one would say, very much like Ralph Lauren, and not square, but very classic, symmetrical. And I really liked those kind of haircuts. When I first moved out to LA, I worked in that salon for a little bit, and the guy that owned the salon wanted me to go out and kind of party and go out. And those, I just, that's not what I really wanted to do. I just wanted to kind of build up a clientele. But his idea was just give out cards and stuff like that. But I always felt that word of mouth was the best way of advertising. So he actually fired me in Beverly Hills for other than, I guess I wasn't doing what he wanted me to do, and I just went down the street and got a job at another hair salon, and then built up a clientele, and then came back as a renter. And then I met a friend who owned the salon in Beverly Hills, where our backyards, or I should say the back entrances, backed up to one another. And he was also of Cuban descent, but he was actually born in Cuba. And he was a really, really good hair cutter. And we talked about opening up a salon at a beach, like in Ibiza, but that was out of the question because that was obviously too far. So Santa Monica was the next best thing. It was fun because I was a partner in the salon in the sense that they owned the majority of the salon, but I came in, and the plan was to build up other hairdressers, and we only had 4 chairs. So then, we decided they went ahead, opened up, and then I left the salon in Beverly Hills and went over to.
There's definitely an entrepreneurial, mind behind. I can see that, because it's not just cutting hair for you. I can tell that there's way more into it. When you're actually standing for like an hour or so, cutting hair, especially for women, take a bit longer. You create relationships. Is it a big part in your work? Like, does it actually kind of is a motivation, or like, is it something inspiring or something that really kind of fulfill your needs?
It depends. Hairdressers are kind of funny. Some like to talk, some don't. I was basically, if they wanted to talk, I'd talk. If they didn't want to talk, I was happy not talking.
Okay.
So what I made sure was that when we had our other hairstylists, like, that they wouldn't bring problems to work. So, clients don't want to hear your problems. They might think, you might think they do, but they really don't. And that's what, I made sure that was something that we always told them, look, that's not a good idea. Don't do that. And,
You're here for your clients. You're not here
exactly.
for, yeah, absolutely.
So I had a client of mine that came, she called me, she said, I got a pilot for a TV show. And she was an actress that I used to do her hair for movies, but I wasn't in the union. So I didn't work on set. So you need to be in the union to work on a set, on television or film. So she told me a little bit about the project, and it was basically, and she had a huge mane of hair, very long hair. And And it basically was a character like Lois Lane of like Superman. And I said, oh, well, why don't we just cut it all off? Cut it really short and kind of not secretarial, but pretty much like a professional. And she said, that's funny. That's what the producers want me to do, but I don't want to do it. And I said, well, I think you should. I think, get away, from what you've been doing for so many years. Very pretty girl.
That was like in 89?
Oh my gosh, I have to remember. That was 84.
Oh, wow.
Let me see. I'm sorry, not 84. Excuse me.
94.
No, 94. Excuse me. So it was 94. Pardon me.
No.
So 94 was when I cut her hair in the salon in Beverly Hills. And I remember she was there with her fiance. And we cut all her hair off and she started crying. And we started laughing, her fiance and I, because we knew she was going to look great. But she was just panicked. And the minute I cut it and I started blow drying it out, everybody stopped in the salon, just couldn't keep their eyes off. She was a very pretty girl. And the haircut I did on her wasn't anything. It was just a bob, a very simple, clean bob, but it was striking for her. And it became a very popular haircut. And it was at the time of the advent of the internet. So she became a very popular internet celebrity, apart from being a famous actress. So it kind of was a little bit of a perfect storm. So she went off and did the show. The show did okay. It was for about a year. And then I went off and went to Santa Monica, and we started the salon, building up the clientele. And then I got a call from her. He said, hey, could you come and do my hair and show them how to do it like you do it, because no one can do it kind of like the way you do, like cut it and blow dry it on the set. So I went down to Warner Brothers, and I remember walking through the gates, and I looked around, and I had this weird feeling like I had been there before. But it wasn't that. It was actually, that's where I really needed to be. And it was weird because I love movies, and my dad loved movies. And of all the studios in Los Angeles and the LA area, they're all great, but Warner Brothers is kind of a very, it's not really a boutique studio, but it's a very special studio. And it's where I learned how to basically work in the film industry.
That's a nice television transition because,
But I didn't know it and I didn't plan it. It was just really, I went there, and then the minute I did it, she asked me, it was weird. Like she said, do you think do you want to come out? I can get you in if you want to do it. And it's very hard to get in. You have to sometimes go on a non-union film, and then it turns to union, you can go in. So I was a star request, but before I said yes, I said, let me talk to my partners. And I said, look, I have an idea. I know this may sound crazy, but I think I have a way where we can build up the salon, build up a clientele, and build up these young hairdressers who were being assistants and learning how to be hairdressers. And what it would entail is me working Monday through Friday on the TV show and Saturdays and Sundays at the salon.
So you're working nonstop.
So I worked, so it turns out I worked 7 days a week for about 10 years.
Wow. Oof. But doing what you love.
So
that's kind of the main thing, I think. There's something that kind of came up when you were saying, like, I belong here in some way. It's like almost like you say a deja vu, like you felt like, it was like a place where you wanted to kind of be. I've been to the lot. I worked there as well. So I know the ambience is very, very kind of magical. There's something special in that place. Was it the people as well that you feel like comfortable with, or did you feel like, where is it coming from? That sense of belonging there, and also, feeling like, you had already been there, right?
What it was for me, what I figured out, I didn't know it at the time, but anything that I've ever excelled in had to do with team. From organized sports, I played organized basketball from the time I was bitty and, like 9 years old till the time I was in college. I love the camaraderie of a team. I love the camaraderie of a salon. I love the camaraderie, eventually, of a set. So I didn't know it at the time because I didn't plan it. I was lucky. I was lucky that it presented itself. But when I did start to work at the studio, it was very cutthroat because they didn't want me. A lot of the hairdressers in the union, they really didn't want me to come in. They felt like I was a young guy. I wasn't going to hire, the experienced people, and just going to kind of keep it to.
So what position are you in at this point?
Well, it's a good question. So when you come in on a TV show, normally you either are personal or you're a key. Very rarely you're a department head, where a department head really oversees the budget, the overall design. Now, it is collaborative with the key and if there's a third hairdresser on the show, depending on how busy the show is. So for me, I was given the opportunity to run the department. And in those days, they were like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's not going to know what he's doing. And I was like, well, wait, what's the big deal? It's like, well, he doesn't know continuity. He doesn't know how to run a budget. So the truth of the matter is continuity you learn in a week. Mm-hmm. That is, if you shoot something on day 5, it has to match basically anything that you've already shot that's in that sequence. So you learn that pretty quickly. And then the other thing is,
So you mean like, the hairstyle? And,
yeah, so if you shot something, because normally you shoot out of sequence. And in television, what makes television so important is that you learn these things that you don't always have the time to learn on films. Because films are fast moving, it's very expensive, so you have to move quickly. And you're shooting out of sequence. Very rarely do you shoot in sequence. So you have to learn how to match, and you have continuity photos and all that. And so, but I learned that in a week. And then the other thing is, the complaint was he's not going to know how to budget a department. It was like, truth of the matter is, just don't spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
So you had a position right from the get-go there.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, just coming in. So that's.
And I did that for 2 years.
And which show did you work on at the time?
There was a show called Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman.
Oh, yeah.
Is it at the lot that you actually kind of met, George Clooney, or it's something that happened after?
We met playing basketball. Very sweet, very exactly what you would think. Very just gentleman.
Can he ball? Is he good?
Yeah. He's a really good player.
Sweet.
He's a really good athlete. So then, basically, he had not gotten ER yet. He had done a lot of pilots.
That was before ER then.
That was before ER, right? And then I got a call from somebody at ER and asked if I was interested in coming over and running the department. I was like, yeah, let's discuss it. I mean, it would entail having to talk to the actress that I was working with, Terry Hatcher, but I didn't hear from them. So I prepped the next season thinking, okay, they changed their mind. So then what happened was, in those days, the studio used to have a hair department where they would place different hairdressers and makeup artists. It was part of the old system that was transitioning out. And the gentleman that was running the hair and makeup department decided to send someone that he knew, his brother, and they didn't hire them. So then they reached out to me and said, we know you're not interested. He told them that I wasn't interested. He went ahead and told them without telling me.
No.
And I didn't take it personally. I just kind of felt it was just a cutthroat thing. And I went and interviewed with Mimi Leader and John Wells and Chris Chulak. And I felt like I was home. That's the way my life has always been. Like, I have these moments of, I wouldn't say epiphanies, but they're They're reinvention moments, so to speak. So
What drew you towards? Because you were already established at Lois and Clark, right? What drew you towards ER? Was there something?
I wasn't drawn there. I was asked if I wanted to come work there. Now,
But you
I
made the
did,
choice, right?
Yes, for sure. Well, it was the number one show on television,
Right.
and it was an honor. It was a compliment, and plus I had gone as far as I could on the other show. I had already done, Share Hair was established.
Right.
Anybody could kind of do it.
And you were the department head, so there was-
Yeah, so somebody could come in and do. But it was time to move on and time to go do this next thing. But I should say, in that meeting with Mimi, leader John Wells and Chris Chulike, they said, "Look, we want you to change George's hair," and I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that because he's going to hate me. He's going to, that's not the way you do it." I said, "Well."
So those choices are like made by the producer, or is like changing hairstyle and things
Well,
like
no,
that?
look. The actors has a lot to say,
Okay.
but they just wanted him to get away from the way he looked on some previous TV shows, which he kind of cut his own hair. And then when I met him, I didn't say anything. I remember the first day that we were working, he came in and he just said, "No, I'm good. I don't need to have my hair done." I said, "Okay, great." He didn't really want to be. He just didn't want. He wanted to do his own stuff, and the really good ones don't really need anybody. They know how to, how they want to look, and you're just there as a barometer to kind of listen. Mm-hmm. That you're just like in a salon, really. In a salon, somebody comes in, very rarely do you tell them what to do. There's some hairdressers that do that. I was never that way. The idea was like I didn't want to be the hair police. Mm-hmm. And it's important to not be the hair police, because we were friends on the basketball court, but this is different. This is like,
Did you keep playing basketball with him during the show?
Yeah. Well, what happened first is one day his hair had gotten really long. We were doing, because he was cutting his own hair and stuff, and it was kind of
By himself?
Yeah, and it was
Oh,
okay.
wow.
It was but it wasn't like he needed a proper haircut, but he knew how to kind of do it on his own, and he, like everything that he's always done in his career, he's a Renaissance man. So one day he came in and was like, "Well, I guess we should cut it." I go, "Sure, sit down," and that was it. We never looked back because it was on his terms. It was It was the way it should be, and that was it. And then I did that for that season. I only stayed there 1 year, and then I went off and did films with him. And we just did a series of films that we did, I don't know, like 10 films in a row.
Kind of a friendship kind of grew out of that.
Yeah, and the friendship grew, and it was a lot of fun. It was like we started traveling. I went to Europe for the first time ever. I learned how to work on films and learned how to run the same kind of thing where you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to do that. And it was the same thing. You win them over. You win them over.
Okay.
And
The only difference is like millions of dollars on the line now.
Exactly. Like anything, you have to know where you fit in and what you're good at. Know what you're good at, but more importantly, know what you're not good at. Leave that to the people that are good. I think a lot of people make mistakes and assume they're just going to try and fudge their way. That's not the way to go about it. Now, there is a difference. There are times where I was working on a film and they would ask, "Do you know how to do that?" And you say yes. You never say you don't.
Fake it till you make it.
Right, there is that. So that's different. But if you do that and not learn it for a
Right.
that's stupid.
So
It's
don't
like,
fake it. Learn it.
No, learn it.
Yeah.
Learn it. Like, do your homework. Start the night, like I always have a rule. If I'm going to work with somebody for the first time, I do as much homework on that person and what they've done so that I'm familiar with their work.
What do you think, you're bringing to the clients that you're cutting your hair?
A very good haircut for first and foremost, but also a place where you can relax and feel like you're, I don't want to say pampered, but you can just relax a little
It's
bit.
something therapeutic.
It is therapeutic, and
You're creating like an environment for them to kind of kind of feel more
Yeah,
comfortable?
I
And
mean, when you work on television or film, the hair and makeup trailer is the most important zen place on a film set or a television set because it's where they all start their day. Usually with directors or even on television, what they do is the actors come in, they'll have some coffee, they'll go to set and they'll do a blocking rehearsal, and then they'll come back and go to the works, which is basically hair and makeup. And one of the things that I always felt I was really good at, even in the hair salon, is to create an environment. Like if someone's, like there were some girls that were hairdressers that would like, oh yeah, he's cheating on me and this and that. And I was like, always take them aside and go, don't do that here. Because they don't want to hear your problems. And you go, yeah, of course they do. They want to, you think they do, but they really don't, you know? So, and on a film set or a television set, it's even more amplified because you have to have, it's got to be a zen area. You have to hire the right people that are going to not be dramatic, not be moody, good at what they do, you know, that have a rapport with those actors if possible.
And they have to be chill around actors.
They have
too.
to be chill.
Yeah.
You have to be comfortable with them. And it's okay to be, you know, just be yourself, but more importantly, don't undermine and don't be dramatic.
What do you think it is about your own personality that allows you to work with, not everybody can interact with famous people, right? Or celebrities or people that are working at such a large scale in their professional realm. Like, is there something about you in particular that you think makes you better fit to work with, like bigger personalities or higher scale clientele? Is there something specific that you think is a skill you bring?
Well, I guess it is a skill, or it's something that I've always had. My dad kind of taught it to me. My dad was he was everything to me, and I was lucky to have him for the time. Even though he died young, he always instilled confidence and a way of making people feel easy around him, and that was something that I always really it came naturally to me. So. You don't know if you're going to apply these things initially when you're on this earth or getting older, but you should. I think for me it was beneficial. I was again lucky to have the wherewithal to do it because I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. I felt good doing it because I knew they felt good. You have to you don't have to, but you should genuinely want to do it because you love doing it.
Right.
So I think...
And they can feel that.
Without a doubt, but you can't kiss their ass.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know it, and then you kind of, you really have to just treat them like normal people.
in your work, is it something that happened that, opens up? And then, I would say you really kind of focus on your clients, on the person you're working with, and that becomes, more important than anything else. And you feel like, oh, yeah, I'm in the flow by doing that. Did you feel like a sense of being in the flow?
Yeah. To this day, if I'm prepping an actor for film, and even though I'm transitioning now, I'm doing other things, they're the most important thing in the world. And it's ultimately, to this day, that's always the case. There's nothing more important than what you're doing right then and there.
Yes. Do you feel like, that's kind of where the fulfillment comes as well?
I think the fulfillment comes from being professional and taking pride in what you do. Because if you don't take the time to be professional or take the time to focus, then, you feel like, you didn't really give it your best shot. And then why do it?
But you made a point. You said it like when you were kind of prepping your own hairdresser, saying, don't talk about, what's going on in your life. They're not interested. You want to focus and put your attention on them. And, if something comes up, yes, but that's kind of another way to kind of look at it where like, you really kind of, are there as a service. It's you
right.
There to serve.
If they ask you, that's different. Then you can say it, but then move on from that.
Yes.
Try not to, try to keep it positive.
You have a desire you're a pleaser. You like to please, you like to make people feel good. And I think that's kind of part of your personality as well.
Yeah,
that
for
kind
sure.
of make, who you are in some way.
That
translates into your work as well.
And, when you focus and you're like, whenever I'm working, it's all right there. It's I'm ultra. I'm also you name it, OCD.
Yeah, I can tell that because you're very precise. You're very like perfectionist.
Very symmetrical. Very
yes.
symmetrical.
And I kind of I can see like through your the comments that you made prior to
Yeah.
talking about even your work. So you also have an artistic sense. You did actually direct also commercials. I want to talk about that a little bit because I think creativity can express in different ways. How did you get into that, or like what was
I got lucky. It was a campaign for my charity, Amnesty International.
Okay.
I wound up doing these ads as somebody fell out of it, and they had a certain group of actors, and then I said, well, can we do it a little differently? Can we not just have the candles, and can we come up with a tagline so that it's like something, fun? Like the one commercial I did was they're all shown on MTV and VH1, and the tagline was "Make some noise," and that is make noise without the use of an instrument. And they had a certain amount of actors that they had, but then I said, well, I can bring so and so, and they go, really? You can bring? I go, yeah, because then, and I learned quickly that if you can secure talent, you can do anything. So that's how I
Who was in the commercial?
Clive Owen, George, my gosh, Eva Mendes, Joaquin Phoenix, a ton, because we shot some in New York, some in LA. And I did that for like 3 years. And then
3 years.
Wow. There were different campaigns.
Okay.
I didn't get an agent, but I was going to do other commercials. And when you do commercials for, like, let's say Bud Light, you have to come up with a pitch. And that pitch, you have to bid with other directors, unless you're already established, like the Coen brothers, who do a lot of those. So it was very competitive, so I didn't want to do that.
What was the thing that really fulfilled you doing that?
Working with the different departments, like the sound mixer that I worked with Steven Soderbergh, or with Alexander Payne, or with Joel and Ethan Cohen, because you'd get those technicians from those people if they weren't busy, and do you want to do this? And they'd be like, yeah. And then so putting together a crew, and then working with them, and then kind of winking at them during the day, like saying, how fun is this?
It's like the collaboration.
Yes.
It seems like
again,
it's a big thing. Teamwork.
It's the only thing I'm learning how to write. It's a hard thing for me to do because you have to do it alone, and I don't like being alone. I like being with people, but I also now am finding a certain comfort in it. So that's my latest challenge, and that is writing.
That's very exciting.
Because we sold a couple shows, and now it's like writing, and that's a whole new thing.
Yeah, again, and this is really that people person that you are. So of course, being by yourself writing sometimes could be really kind of
it's hard, but the more you do it,
the more you
the better you get at it.
Who did you work with that had a great impact in your life, and that kind of really affected your life?
Oh, George, for sure, because he's the consummate professional. Steven Soderbergh, who I've done a bunch of films with. I think in terms of the business, it's definitely Steven and George.
Mm-hmm.
In life, it's my mom.
Your mom.
And my family.
There's a story that I know about that occurred, and it's maybe you can talk about it if you want to, but it's about a specific actor that was older at some point, and you actually kind of started to cut his hair, and you knew his daughter. So if that can ring a bell.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yeah, I was lucky enough to work with but it wasn't for pay. It was just I was lucky enough to meet the family, basically Gregory Peck, and I dated his daughter
How was it to actually kind of meet him? Because I know you really admire him. You really kind of liked him a lot as an actor, as a person.
Beyond, yeah. It was
Beyond.
amazing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. too.
How was the experience of you kind of meeting him? And
Just a wonderful family, warm and just kind and intelligent, and made me feel included, very inclusive and very warm. Exactly what you would think, you know. And it was he was older, and it was great to be able to do it, and just it was like being with my dad. Yeah.
it's something special, huh?
Very special. Very. It was one of the most special moments in my life. Yeah.
When you look back at your career, what is the things that you would change or you do differently?
Nothing.
I love that answer.
Nothing.
It's like, you know, you,
Doesn't make.
yeah.
It's a waste of time.
I believe so too. I think, you know, things happen the way they're supposed to happen.
Yep.
And you do the things that you do knowing what you know then. And then, you know, a lot of time people are like, well, if I had known, you know, but then you didn't know. So therefore, you know, you wouldn't be, there's no point. It's really kind of the idea.
There's no sense. No point.
It's interesting because when you look at your life path, you know, there's always those element that comes up, you know, the collaboration, you know, liking people, connection,
Yep.
and also that sense of, you know, being perfect or try to kind of make the best and to kind of, you know, be as good as you can in any kind of, you
Yeah.
know,
It's not about being perfect. It's about
No.
being the best you can.
yeah, the best version of yourself.
The
doing-
best.
yeah.
Well, the best. Yeah. The best. Not. Yeah. I mean, I guess the best version. But you're always trying to be the best version of yourself. But it's more about just doing the best that you can and be in it. You know, be passionate.
And also for the people actually kind of watching this, they're like, you know, oh, wow, from a hairdresser to kind of becoming a writer or like and directing. So, and the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of people sometimes feel like stifled by, you know, choosing or picking up, you know, one specific career. And I'm like, you know, you got to be flexible. And I can see that, you know, in your life that, you know, you've been flexible, you've been following your path. And your path kind of brought you to do all those things, amazing things that, you know, perhaps you didn't even think about doing them. But then, you know, once, you know, you
Yeah.
started to kind of move forward,
Yeah.
it kind of cleared out. And
Which
it
is
kind of,
which is what I said. Just like you have to just go for it. Whenever in doubt, just don't let fear stop you. Just
what advice would you give to someone who would start as a hairstylist?
if there's something that I feel I could give to someone that's young and trying to find their way in terms of work, this is the thing. I was terrified when I was in college because I didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to apply my studies. Then once I had an idea, a semblance of a plan, then I felt better, and each day it gets better. You have to take a chance. You have to get on a road. This is my opinion to anyone that's out there. Whatever it is that you want to do, be passionate about it. Take the road. It might not be the road that you're going to wind up on eventually, but it's going to lead to the road that you're going to leave on. But if you never take a chance, if you never go for it, you're never going to find out. And I think that it's important to do that. You know, get on that road and take a chance. Figure it out. And again, that might not be the end all, but it's going to take you to the road that you need to find. But if you never take that chance, you're never going to know.
Well, Waldo, it was such a pleasure to have you on a set here at Be Thyself. I feel like, you know, we got a lot from talking with you, and thank you so much for sharing all this, you know, life experience with us. I really wish you a beautiful day, and until the next episode, wish you the very best and much love to you.